Yo, what's going on, family? Welcome back to DXP Crypto. Hope you are all doing well. I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks. A lot has happened. Of course, I've taken a short family break back to the UK. Lovely weather there. And now I'm back in the Dubai heat. But of course, I do miss every single one of you. Hopefully tomorrow we'll do a live stream on the FOMC. But let's get on with it in terms of what's going on in the market, what's happening with the crypto right now, and of course, where we can expect to see things that will come within the next kind of 7 days. Actually, this week, with August the 1st coming up for tariffs, with FOMC, the macro calendar is absolutely stacked. It is, I've never seen it this stacked actually for a while. So just to let you know what's going on, of course, what you're looking at is expectation for the FOMC here, and 96.9, nearly 97% of the expectation is that the rates do remain the same. Probability for rate cuts is okay. So what you're really seeing here is a market which has a lot of economic data expectations. So this week we've got the JOLTS opening, we've basically got the JOLTS quits. So we've got basically NFP data coming this week, ISM manufacturing coming this week, FOMC, tariffs on the August the 1st, PCE. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So it's a stacked week. And of course, being a stacked week, of course, you have to look at the key events, cut down to the nitty gritty. And in my opinion, as always, I have done that for you. So key events, what I'll be looking at most would be the FOMC, of course, this action-packed week with ISM manufacturing and, of course, many other things that we talked about. But it'll be interesting to see Powell's rhetoric. It'll be interesting to see what Powell says and does during this FOMC meeting. I'm not expecting anything drastic, but of course it is already, he has come out this week to defend himself, which is quite interesting. Now, in addition to that, of course, you've got the EU deal with Trump that was announced. This is the tariffs once again, and the tariffs, of course, this was a major deal. Now, the two deals that were announced this week, Japan and the EU, the Japan one for me is less significant than the EU, because the EU just pretty much gave Trump what he wanted, get this thing going, over and done with. But Japan holds a lot of US debt. Okay, so of course that limits what the leverage can be on the Japanese. Okay, they own over $1 trillion or $3 trillion. I don't know what the debts, their treasuries they own there, but they hold significant amount of US treasuries. Now, summary of the EU deal for Trump: EU to buy 750 billion worth. This is all coming from Trump, by the way. EU to invest 600 billion more in the US. EU to open a trade at zero tariff for US goods. US to set 15%. Okay, so that's something that's obviously been considered as or it is being sold as a huge win for the US. Of course, in 2024, US EU trade totaled 1 trillion. So US exported 400 billion and imported 600 billion, mostly probably wine and cars and stuff like that. Trade deficit of about $200 billion. You'd expect that anyway, naturally, the US being the larger economic area, and of course, the EU being a diverse nation, unlike the US being of course, it's a single trading bloc, but different nations are experts at producing different things. So that's natural to me. I mean, I don't know how you can actually physically balance that deficit over there. But of course, the US is currently dependent on EU goods like pharmaceuticals, machinery, and the US cannot replace the production as quickly as they want. Of course, US imports still EU goods, still to buy EU goods, pay the tariffs and pass the cost on to the consumers. Inflationary 101, if you ask me. In the short, medium term, US consumers bear the cost while the trade deficit persists. Tariffs, revenues rises, but so do the cost of goods or prices. Now, I want you to turn your attention back to the 1st of August deadline. Trump, we are setting these tariffs for the rest of the world. That's why they have to pay. He said that today. I suspect it will be extended again, in my opinion. In the case of China and other countries, we're already seeing a deviation from this hardcore deadline. Now, of course, Trump said later the tariffs are expected before, or the letters, or tariff letters are expected to come in before the 1st of August. Again, you know, the ECP's Casimir said the US deal reduces uncertainty, but inflation impact is unclear. For me, this is why I don't think the Fed will ultimately pivot straight away. I mean, the pressure is on there. You never know, but I do expect the Fed to remain, or Powell to remain, to his course. Again, I'm not looking at the headlines merely just for today, but if you remember in July, or earlier in July, when he sat down with Christine Lagarde and a few of the other central bank governors, the backing for Powell was very strong. Okay. Now, why are we talking about all of this? Geopolitics. Trump today talked about Iran war. Now, Trump, Iran, Epstein. This has been the last 3 months of since April, May. The point when Trump and Musk fell out, and Musk dropped those Epstein mentions, we knew straight away something was going to happen on a macro level. Now, was the sudden tensions and escalations into flames on the Iran side a direct result of the pressure, or what Trump knew about these files? Nobody knows. We'll probably talk about that more in the live stream, of course, and crypto will have to react. Now, of course, in terms of the market, I'm looking at, again, a lot of people are just anxious to see where things can go. Right now, this is probably the most important chart for us, and that is the chart for Ethereum. If you remember one of my VIP posts, and big up to my VIP community, especially with these kind of reports that we do internally. If you remember one of the posts, I did say that if we break that 3.8 to 4,000 level, I think Ethereum will go and do an ATH. Now, we went such a long way since my kind of prediction in July for Ethereum to go on a massive run. But you can see here on the daily, this was a huge, by the way, these are institutional order blocks. It's not something that I mark on the charts. These are indicators that come and tell you exactly where these order blocks are. And you can see here a massive buying pressure between 3.2 and, of course, 3.4. That sent the price up. We could literally, I mean, like I said, I'm not expecting the market to be over anytime soon, but I do expect that at some point we'll move to the altcoin alt season. And of course, this is an indication when you start to see the top 100 outperforming the Bitcoin, then you start to see that. Now you can see here on the daily, let's even go to the weekly, the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, actually, you could see here there was a reversal of Solana versus BTC, right, on the weekly. And you can see that very clearly came through over there. And I can just show you exactly where to look at. You see this area here. That was a massive change. And there's 1, 2, 3 consecutive green weekly candles of the of Solana outperforming Bitcoin. But we do need to remain cautious, because if you look at over here, we've done that previously at this point in time. We've done it over here. I'll just move this across. We've done it previously over here. So if you look over there, back in April, early April, when the market was absolutely tanking, Solana was outperforming Bitcoin. Okay, so we need the top 100 to start performing against BTC, and we're not there yet. A simple answer. Look, if you look at the Tau versus Bitcoin, or Solana versus Bitcoin, or CAS versus Bitcoin, or say it's been an anomaly, it's been performing really well. But for most of these, they've been doing really badly versus Bitcoin. And we know that when all the other alts or top 100 alts start outperforming Bitcoin, then we know that's alt season in general. Now, of course, if we go back to our macro charts, we've come such a long way since we put this resistance in for the Bitcoin dominance. Of course, never got to max pain, but that's something that's still marked on my chart at around this 70%, 73% level that I've got here. So what do we see here? Now, I do expect, like I said here, I did mark a big zone in this yellow where we are expecting to see Bitcoin dominance to come back into. And ideally from where we are, even if we go down to the lower 50s, consider that as your alt season. Okay, because I don't think, if we break 50%, I'd be happy 55, 56, 53, 52%. Bitcoin dominance will, for me, be happy or enough to start taking money out of the market. All right, guys. Now, in terms of individual coins, today I wanted to set your head up with the macro. Of course, we'll do a live stream. We'll talk about all of the other altcoins. Of course, we'll plan some AMAs. And of course, we will update you on what I consider to be where, A, where the market's going to top, and B, in my opinion, like I said in this chart, where to start taking profits. So you've got to really have a confluence of charts right now in order to start thinking about leaving this market. And ideally, I think, October, November is still my consideration for, an exit for the market. Of course, leaving any moon bags and rotating into anything that is possibly needed to be rotated into. All right, guys. Anyway, I hope you like this video. Great to have you back. Great to have me back as well. Smash a like, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Have a lovely summer. And, of course, stay vigilant in this market.